Alright, welcome to the video, guys. This is Wish from the future, actually, because we are currently somewhere in the middle. As I'm making this video, I'm in the middle of this Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel series. I'm not spoiling anything on this screen, fortunately, so don't worry about that. This is the create a new deck screen, basically. Here are all the cards that are in the game, but these cards we don't have, so you cannot see what we currently have. Maybe here the crafting points, but yeah, that doesn't really matter. So alright, so this is basically the screen, and I wanted to explain to you what format I will be playing in, because what I currently play in, and it's also the format that I will be playing the entire series in. So and yeah, I don't think I did a great job at explaining that in the first few episodes of the series. So I hope this will be helpful. Also, so a little backstory, basically, I'm personally a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player back in the day. I loved the game back in the day, I loved the anime as well. I even rewatched it, everything, and I actually still play with a couple of friends of mine. And we play in real life, by the way, so it's kind of a get-together game, I guess. But we've gotten a little bit more serious with it over time as we started playing more. Since the new cards were released, and the friend of mine, he has a lot of cards, and we devise strategies together, we may build decks together and in different ways, and we discuss a lot about it. It's we play a lot, of course, 1v1s, even some small tournaments with a group of friends, so it's really cool. I really love the game, and I really love the mechanics as well. The things that, basically, as you can probably follow from the backstory, we're kind of old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. We love the game how it was back in the day. So with that, I'd like to explain to you what the kind of rule set that we made for ourselves is. And if you go to a rule set, it's for card games, it's gonna be a ban list. So basically, you talk about the cards that you like to play with, of course, and the cards that you don't like to play with. Well, with that to aid our my explanation, I actually made a ban list quite a long time back in the day, but here it is. So the ban list for the GX format and pure Yu-Gi-Oh! So first of all, let me explain what the GX format is. There was actually a main anime series, and that was with Yu-Gi-Oh, with Yugi, with Yami, with Kaiba, Joey, Tia, like everyone. So basically that's probably the anime that a lot of people know and everyone will recognize. After that anime series, we had a follow-up thing, and that was called Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. So Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is actually the follow-up anime series for that, and that's the last anime series where they played without, well, certain additional summoning mechanics, and those summoning mechanics included the pendulum monsters, synchro monsters, XYZ monsters, and link monsters. So all those monsters we will actually not be playing with, so we don't play with any of those cards, just so you know. And why is that the case? I'll surely touch up on why that's the case, why we don't like that. Because I hope I don't get into it too deep to actually try to confuse you. But basically, currently the meta play is where you have like all these monsters, of course, in your extra decks. That leads to your main deck monsters focusing a lot of special summoning. So basically, this leads to having a lot of monsters in your main deck which can special summon themselves. And if they can, they're incredibly valuable. Because if they can special summon themselves on the field, and maybe some others with themselves, regardless of their attack stats and defense stats, and also regardless of their own effect, except for the special summon effect, right? They're incredibly valuable because you can link them or XYZ them or synchro them away from for these monsters, and that's the part we do not kind of enjoy. So basically, then you will run into a lot of longer turns, a lot of more sets per turn. Basically, you will do a lot of moves per turn, and a lot of possibilities as well. So that's basically where the game is currently, and yeah, we personally don't really enjoy that, so that's why we do not play with these new summoning mechanics at all. So we only play with, basically, I do want to explain what is included in here. It's only the main deck monsters, the fusion monsters, which probably people know. It's like the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, where Kaiba fuses 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons into each other. There's also ritual summons, but we will get to that in the game for sure. So, but that's it. I hope you guys who are watching this, if you're any old school player or something, then you will at least be familiar with it, and maybe even be thankful that these are not included in the playing format that I will be playing in. Also, I wanted to mention that the current meta, basically, it exists a lot of bringing out these monsters and bringing out a lot of negates on the field, so you can actually negate what your opponent's going to do. Again, I'm not going into it too deep because it's not too interesting, but at least not for me. But just so you know, that's the kind of gameplay that we want to avoid. That's why we don't include these monsters. Okay, so I hope that's a little bit clear. We don't include these monsters. Let that be the bottom line. And the second part is actually pure Yu-Gi-Oh! So What's also currently the case in the meta game, I guess. The meta game is, by the way, the game where it is right now, as in if you were actually competitively playing, you would be playing the meta game or something, or at least that's what I think it is. So if you hear me say that, that's what I mean. Alright, so yeah, basically where it is right now, you have a lot of cards. You can imagine, maybe you know the cards Monster Reborn or the cards Card of Destruction, Card Destruction actually. Like there are some few cards which are actually incredibly good. Pot of Greed's actually at the top. We can slowly start to go down this list in a little bit. Pot of Greed's actually a really good card as well. It's basically just draw 2 cards. That's the effect. But you can imagine that card's actually not related to any archetype or anything. It's not related to any playing mechanic. That card's incredibly great. Don't get me wrong, but it's great in every single deck. So they are called actually staples, and that's the thing that we personally try to avoid. So basically, Pot of Greed's a really simple example, but you have a lot of cards which are actually great in every deck, as you can imagine. So that's the thing we are trying to avoid. We don't really want to play with those cards because we eventually kind of want to play how we think Konami intended the game to be played. So you have a lot of decks which are actually contained within like a certain archetype. That's what is an archetype is. So basically a name of an archetype. Blue Eyes White Dragon is, for example, an archetype. And then you have a lot of cards which actually work with Blue Eyes White Dragon. And yeah, those cards are actually, they can be super powerful and overpowered and whatever. They can be super powerful as long as you stick with your own archetype. But yeah, so if you're a new Yu-Gi-Oh player, or like an actual Yu-Gi-Oh player who knows the game up until now and knows about the meta game, and you will know like all the cards that are actually forbidden. So for those people, I will actually try to go into the ban list that we made. Yeah, so then you will know the cards. So up until now, basically, I hope it's clear what format we are playing in. For again, people that know the cards, I will go into the forbidden list that we made so far. It's a really old forbidden list. I made it in 2021. Okay, so I think that's maybe that's 6 months ago. So it's been a while, but yeah, I just set up this simple ban list. It's just to show what the format is like, and it doesn't include all the cards. It's still work in progress, of course. Yeah, so basically, Pot of Greed, it's completely forbidden. We start with a forbidden list. These are all the cards that we do not play with. Then we have Pot of Extravagance, Prosperity, Pot of Desires. This can be played with an exception in maybe Banished, in a card deck that actually focuses on banished cards. Oh, maybe maybe I forgot something to mention here, because yeah, so the pure means that you're sticking to one archetype or playing method within each deck. So as you can imagine, like there are certain archetypes which work with each other, Blue Eyes White Dragon, but there are also certain playing mechanics. We will see that later in the series. There's, for example, a rock deck which actually focuses on like flipping monsters face up and face down, and then effects happen. There's also another deck that I was playing with recently that focuses on switching monsters' battle positions. They are called the Karakuri monsters, but we will come to that. But just so you know, there's actually, besides archetypes, you can also focus on a certain playing method. And that's, for example, here, if you have a deck that focuses on banished cards, then perhaps Pot of Desires could be allowed in the deck, right? So we're thinking about that. That's why I put a question mark after it. Upstart Goblin draws for 1 card, so it's not good. It's good in every deck basically, so that's why it's looked down upon by me at least. Like, I don't really like the card. Monster Reborn, that could be played in combination with a Winged Dragon of Ra support. Card Destruction, Change of Heart, Card of Safe Return, Graceful Charity, Giant Runate, Heavy Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster. Of course, it's an archetype card, so it could be played in Harpy's decks. Forceful Sentry, Delinquent Duo, Metamorphosis, Mystic Mine, and here I have to mention something. Actually made something, yeah, FICW, Forbidden in combination with. So basically, yeah, some cards can only, they can be allowed, but they cannot be played in combination with other cards. That's kind of the theory behind this. Because Mystic Mine, my opinion at first, basically, I personally don't really like this card because it really promotes single player play or something. It's really a card that it's a lockdown card basically. So you lock down your opponent and you play a lot of negate traps, I guess, beside it. So that means that you're just trying to play your own game. You're just trying to get Exodia up usually, or something, maybe Final Countdown, just resolve some win condition while playing by yourself, and you're trying your best not to let your opponent interrupt you. And that's basically the game that you're making. So it doesn't really matter what deck you're playing against. It's really not promoting like actually dual play. Even the meta game is better to me, because even though there's a lot of negates and turns take 5, 6, 7, even 10 minutes sometimes, you have still like you still have like interaction with each other, right? And that's the thing that this kind of kills. Mystic Mind kills interaction, in my opinion. So all right, but still we have actually a friend who actually has this deck with a Mystic Mind deck. It's a pretty good deck as well. So we couldn't ban it, unfortunately. So we have it at forbidden as long as you like. It's forbidden if you play it with these cards. It's forbidden to play it with in combination with these cards. So with Metaverse and Demise of Land. So hence Demise of the Land is actually forbidden to play in combination with Mystic Mine, of course. Metaphors Fusion, it's a spell card that actually lets you draw one card. Only allowed in Metaphors decks. Performapal, Popper Up, really good card as well, but only allowed in Performage decks. Then onto the Monsters Eater of Millions, really good deck, but a really good card, but could be in every deck that we have, because as you can imagine, since we don't play with the extra deck that much, you can put a lot of cards in the extra deck that you don't need, and you can actually make use of Eater of Millions and a lot of cards alike which use this card from the extra deck. So yeah, it's just not it's a card in every good card in every deck. Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, you could play it, but only in Dark Magician and Red Eyes decks. Cyberstein Fusion Summons, yeah, it's simply a no. Dino Wrestler Prankotrops, a really good card in every deck as well, but we only allow it in dinosaur type decks. Then we have Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, sorry for the abbreviation here. Yeah, you could play it, but only in hero decks. Then Metaverse, of course, same thing as the Mice of Land. Alright, then we have a limited list. Foolish Burial, 1-for-1, Reinforcement of the Army, Rhoda. Terraforming Rhoda is on here because basically it's too general. Like it affects the entire warrior archetype, and it's a monster type, and that's such a good monster type. Like there's so many monsters, warrior monsters, and there's actually a lot of Rhoda cards, but Rhoda-like cards, but they are actually restricted to an archetype, so that makes it a lot better in my opinion. So Terraforming is also on here. We also have a semi-limited list, which is currently empty. Like I said, it's still a work in progress. Don't take like all of these cards. Most of the cards are really set in stone. They are on here, but there might really be cards missing. Like there could be more cards on the forbidden list and also on the limited list. Semi-limited list, we haven't found any cards yet. I still had some cards that I was debating. Like I wanted to debate with my friends about, discuss with my friends about what we should do with them. Card of the Mice and Pot of Duality, both similar cards, like really good draw spells, but they restrict your special summons. So perhaps these could be allowed in decks where you only focus on normal summons, so much like Flunderies or Subterra decks, for example, right? So yeah, perhaps you could allow that in such decks, but currently I don't know what to do with them yet. Thunder Dragon Colossus, it's a really good card. It's related to an archetype, but perhaps it's too good. Like even if you allow it in its own archetype, it actually restricts the opponent from adding cards to their hand, if I'm correct, and that's incredibly good. Like yeah, it still has to be tested. So basically we want to test this still. Maybe we try to make a deck with this card in it, of course according to our own format, so this format, and yeah, we try it out and see how powerful it is. Maybe it's too powerful and kills every other deck, but maybe it's doable. Let's see. Set rotation, Metaverse, the question mark is basically because should it be on the limited list? Should it not? I don't know. Set rotation, similar thing. Reasoning, actually a card that yeah, I think, oh, by the way, let's pull up, that's why I had this, let's pull up Thunder Dragon Colossus. Yeah, then I don't have to speculate. So it's actually, this is the OCG band list, by the way, I found out later. Yeah, so this card's actually, so must either be fusion summoned or special summoned during the turn a Thunder monster's effect was activated by in the hand, by attributing one Thunder effect non-fusion monster, in which case you do not choose polymerization. Cards cannot be added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, except by drawing them. Yeah, so that's it. If this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish one Thunder monster from your graveyard instead. So yeah, that's a pretty good card, and as you can see, it's actually ultra rare rarity. So so that's actually the Thunder Dragon Colossus, Set Rotation, Metaverse, Reasoning. You can actually look it up for the people, I guess, who are not familiar with it. Reasoning, yeah, this card, it says normal spell, your opponent declares a monster, level 1 to 12, excavate the top cards of your deck until you excavate a monster that can be normal summoned or set. Yeah, then if that monster is the same level as the one you declared by your opponent, send all excavated cards to the graveyard. If not, special summon the excavated monster. Also send the remaining cards to the graveyard. So yeah, this can be abused, I guess, in a lot of decks, which don't have a lot of cards actually to be normal summoned or set. Like if they don't have a lot of cards which can be normal summoned and set, then that's actually a good card. But you also have Monster Gate. Let me type please, Monster Gate. Ooh, it's not on this server, I think. monster. Okay. Okay, yeah, no worries. We won't bother with that card, and let's not show the cards that we have. We won't bother with that, but there's a similar card which actually does the same. It actually tributes a monster and has a similar effect. But yeah, that's a lot better card, like more difficult to use card than this card, because this card could be in every deck. Lastly, I don't want to make this video too long. Yeah, we have some cards. I call them meh cards. I basically cards that I don't really like to see. I don't think if they should be on the forbidden list either, but like I don't want to play with these cards. Like they're good in every deck. Trust me, they're really good cards. Don't get me wrong about that. Like that's why they are all expensive cards and most sought after. But they're really good cards, but just so random, so general. Like they're good in every deck, and that's what, of course, does not comply with our pure Yu-Gi-Oh requirement, basically. Alright, so Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, it will be most of these hand traps. I only included two here, I think, Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansions. Like, these two are, I think, the best of the entire series of all these hand traps. You have a lot more of these, but yeah, like, all of them are meh. Effect Failure, this is actually, it is combinable with Sage with Eyes of Blue, where you can actually normal summon this card, and you can add one level 1 Light Tuner, if I'm correct, to your hand, and Effect Failure fits that description, so that's possible, but yeah, still it's a random card. So Ice Dragon's Prison, really good trap card. Dogmatica's Punishment, also really good trap card, but yeah, super random, except maybe in trap decks. So Lilith, we can actually look that card up. Lilith, this card. If this card's normal summoned, its original attack becomes 1000. Quick effect, you can tribute one dark monster. Reveal 3 normal traps from your deck. Your opponent randomly chooses one for you to set to your field, and you shuffle the rest back into your deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. So yeah, it's that's for example a thing where it could fit, but otherwise, please, it's like a really good card, but it's gonna be redundant if it's gonna be seen in every deck. Forbidden Droplet, Triple Tactics Talent. People who know the game and who know the meta game will recognize all these cards and know them from the top of their head, all the effects as well. Super famous cards: Forbidden Droplet, Triple Tactics Talent, Infinite Impermanence, Evenly Matched, Red Reboot, Lightning Storm, Nibiru, Hand Trap, Called by the Grave, also really good card. All the Solemn cards: Judgment, Scolding, Strike, Warning. I think there are even more, but I just wrote them down. Like I said, it's just a draft of the band list that we made. Dark Ruler No More, Psy, Frame, Gear, Gamma, Draw and Lockbird, Super Polymerization. Maybe it can be played in fusion decks which actually have general materials. I think it's from the top of my head, I think it's Shadow, perhaps, which has like as a requirement for the fusions, just one Shadow monster and one light monster or something. Like you can use your opponent's monsters for that requirement. But yeah, so basically in those decks, sure. But other than that, I think it's like a super good card in any deck that plays with fusions. Book of Moon, that is still a really good card as well, because it just negates almost most effects, because effect monsters which are flip face down do not have any stats anymore. So they're not of any type, any stars, they don't have any effect anymore either. So it's really that's a really good card in general, but yeah, it's also just looked down upon a little. But you could perhaps play it in flip monster decks, of course, because it flips a monster face down or face up. I think there's Taiju or something to flip it face up. But yeah, okay, so it doesn't really matter. Like this book, this card, it could be played in perhaps Subterra or Shadow cards, but decks, but who knows. DD Crow and hand traps and other general hand traps. I basically made this list. I just wrote something down, some words down that I knew back in the day. So perhaps now, if I start writing some down, then it will be even more. But you probably get the idea if you see all of these cards. Also, there are some spell and trap removal cards: MST, Mystical Space Typhoon. Then we have Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twisters, and perhaps even Heavy Storm Duster. That's a trap. I don't know, like it's completely random. Even if the card's not good by itself, it's a completely random card. Like it would fit in every deck, I guess. Like, it doesn't make sense to just put it in one of the decks and not in the others. So yeah, okay, that's actually kind of the thing that I want to talk about and explain the format that we are playing with. So remember, it's the GX format and pure Yu-Gi-Oh! That's the best name I could come up with right now. It's super straightforward, I guess. Yeah, so then you know what kind of format I'll be playing. Pardon me. I'll be playing with this this series, and yeah, I hope that you will enjoy the series.